Okay, what I'd like to do is start off with a video from the event over in Macau. So it's just a minute long, I think. Just for anybody who maybe hasn't seen this before, just to give you an idea of kind of the excitement and the buzz that was going on last weekend. And this presentation is obviously going to cover many of the points that were discussed in the presentation throughout the day over there in Macau.
You see what has happened here, yeah? It's amazing. Today it's our day, the day of our company.
I'm so excited because I see so much passion here from the people. Hello Macau, we would like to welcome all of you from all over the world here at the World Convention 2018.
People love the company and of course we love the people also.
My job is to empower you.
We've got to thank you guys because it was you guys that made this possible. December 2018, we will release the new social media FutureNet.
Congratulations! Congratulations! And this is why we met Roman and Stefan, because they have both feet on the ground and they want to help you. They have a generous compensation plan we never ever saw in the life.
Together we can change the world.
There's another one, another one.
The biggest team right now is FutureNet.
Okay, so I think what we'll kick off with first is really introducing the FutureNet CEO, the new FutureNet. So what I have noticed from last year's event in Macau that I did attend is that FutureNet have really kind of taken it up a level. You can see that up until this point, Stefan and Roman have really been not only the figureheads, the CEOs, the founders of FutureNet, but they've been the driving force behind it. And really, they've only been the people who have been up front and the faces of FutureNet. But what we're seeing now is that with every kind of part of the company, we're seeing specific professionals, experts in their fields kind of coming into those different income streams, and obviously as well as heading up the company to kind of drive it forward and kind of take it to a whole different level. And I think anybody who has been in FutureNet for a while, anybody who was there last year, would have seen a significant difference in just kind of the polish on things. I mean, Stefan and Roman are very kind of real, they're very, very down to earth gentlemen. I've met them both, very friendly, very, very genuine. But when a company gets to a certain size and it has kind of reached a certain level of success, for it to go forward, it has to change. And I think that's kind of what they're doing. So we're kind of going to go through the kind of different teams of people that are coming in. And one of those individuals who's going to be, I think, seeing a lot of is the new CEO, and he is Richard Giles Whiting. They kind of call him Giles. I don't think they call him by his Christian name, Richard. So you'll see them refer to him as Giles, and that's him there on the right. So a little bit about Giles. This is actually taken from his LinkedIn profile. So he describes himself as a go-to market leader who builds teams, executes strategies, develops products and grows companies. Former general manager of EMEA and Medallia. I don't know what those companies are, but you can go away and look them up. Former president and CEO of Percepta. $100 million plus leader in CX, oversaw parts of the business globally, including 28 international operational locations. Former chief of staff and head of product of TTEC and GM of Humanif. Again, these are not companies that I'm familiar with, but he's got a really kind of heavy resume there. Former EVP, oversaw 5 departments, 40 staff. I'm not going to kind of read all of this out, but he's former consultant. He was a former physicist with the US Air Force. He was an officer going through to captain, leading scientific projects. He's an undergraduate studies in physics and mathematics in the US Air Force Academy. He is a graduate from Harvard University in science and technology. So, they're going in there and they're finding the best of the best to kind of take the helm of FutureNet and take it forward, which I think is a fantastic thing to see. We're not seeing two individuals in Roman and Stefan who are so hell-bent on keeping hold of the reins and keeping the control of everything that they are going to kind of stop it growing. So I think maybe the workload especially, and the expertise that is required to kind of take FutureNet on from here. They've recognised that they need to kind of have help on board, and they've started doing that, and Giles is kind of obviously one of the first people to come on board. So they covered off a number of areas in the full day last Saturday, and kind of one of them was the Futuro coin. That presentation was given by Hugh Paul Ward, who's the Irish gentleman. Gave a great presentation. If you haven't had time yet to watch the presentation that was kind of recorded of the day, then if you can obviously speed through the bits that were not kind of relevant. If anything, there is kind of some sections that are in Ukrainian, some sections that are in Chinese. You can obviously kind of fast forward through those and just get to the bits that you want to know about. But they did cover the Futuro coin, and this is another area where they've brought teams of people in who are specifically kind of experts in that area. So one of the gentlemen who came on, he has a very strong background in finance, international finance and cryptocurrency. He's heading up a team of people specifically in driving forward the Futuro coin. So he has dedicated himself and a team of people who are traveling the world attending cryptocurrency conferences. They're speaking to influencers in the crypto community, obviously speaking to lots of exchanges, getting the Futuro onto more and more exchanges. And they're out there building a global brand and really taking Futuro out to the wider crypto community. So how they described Futuro coin is that they see it as being significantly faster to transact. It completes transactions either immediately or within 4 seconds. So in comparison to many other cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, which can take an awful lot longer, it is very, very fast. And that's what makes it a cryptocurrency that is really good to transact in commerce. So for instance, that's why they use it or can use it in the cafes, in the FutureNet cafes, because you could literally go in and pay for a coffee because it's as quick as using a debit or a credit card or maybe handing over some cash. They also see it as significantly cheaper to transact in that it has much lower fees than other cryptocurrencies, which again is going to become very attractive to people. I've already seen fees with kind of things like Bitcoin kind of really make it an unusable currency for transacting in lower amounts. Because it's just kind of got more and more expensive. They're also saying it is significantly safer, making it a safer currency than most cryptos to actually use and transact in. So they also covered off what are the driving forces to increasing the value of Futura coin. So being listed on more and more exchanges, and that's what this team is out there doing. Raising brand awareness, bringing Futura and its advantages to the exchanges and to cryptocurrency conferences, so that it will be accepted and onto more and more exchanges. It's already, I believe, on, I'm not sure, is it 7 up to maybe 8 or 9 exchanges at the moment. I might be kind of slightly wrong on that, but that's the kind of figure. But they believe that going into the future, then instead of us going to them and kind of talking to them about getting Futura on their exchanges, you're actually going to see exchanges come to us, and that will happen when the Futura or the use of Futura increases, and when it increases, then demand increases, and that's when you start to get exchanges coming to you, because obviously when people are transacting a lot in a particular currency, and they can see it as a means of where they can do exchanges from one to the other, that's where they make their money. So they're going to be kind of coming to us instead of the other way around. And another thing would be building the brand, and they're doing that, like I said previously, through international media and financial TV shows. So the gentleman who was speaking, he's been invited and has been a speaker at a number of international media events, and these financial and crypto TV shows that you see from time to time. And I'm sure if you're into that kind of thing, that's your kind of interest, you probably will know which ones are out there. So another thing that they mentioned, obviously FutureNet create their own games, and one of the online games that they've created is a game called Coin of Mine. And from what I can see, I'm not a big game player, I'm not a game player at all actually, but they kind of did demonstrate it, and it was, to me, and I might be wrong, but it seemed like can you remember that game where people were physically moving around and capturing kind of things in real space, so you can see things in front of you, and it's very much kind of a virtual reality kind of thing like that. But what they've done is that they've taken, or they will be taking, 1 million free Futura coins and placing it in this game, so that basically you can go onto this game and you can play the game and you can get tools and you can kind of win your way to earning this free Futura coin. So if you want to get yourself some Futura coin, then go and look at this Coin of Mine game, see how it works, and obviously you can go out there and play the game and get yourself some free Futura. So that's pretty cool. So moving on to Future Ad Pro, and we're probably all more aware that there are going to be some changes here, and what I've just kind of gone through with the Futura and the cryptocurrency will have a bearing also on Future Ad Pro, and that's kind of why I put that first, so that you can understand why there's going to be a shift within Future Ad Pro. So just to start, they covered off a few facts about Future Ad Pro. Future Ad Pro is the longest and most successful revenue sharing platform there has ever been. Okay, so whereas many have had a very, very narrow view of revenue sharing platforms, which has meant that they've basically gone and they've gone big and then they've collapsed. Future Ad Pro was actually added in a couple of years after FutureNet started, so it wasn't their initial product, and they have always had many other income streams coming into FutureNet. So Future Ad Pro has never been dependent on just FutureAd Pro. It has lots of other income streams that makes it very robust, very strong. And it also has a number of safeguards built into it that many other failing revenue sharing platforms have never had. Things like having a maximum of 1,000 ad packs, having fees to pay to go up your levels to earn commissions. So there are things that have been put in place to ensure that it has longevity and strength within the platform. It is at number 2 on the Elixir traffic ranking table, so it's ranking incredibly high. If you know anything about ranking, then number 2 is very high in the kind of a global traffic kind of ranking. So FutureAd Pro brings traffic. It brings traffic to FutureNet, it brings traffic to the business, and as we all know, a business without traffic is not going to work, especially when you're online. So it brings traffic to the company, it makes it rank higher, which then encourages external businesses to want to advertise on FutureNet. They can see that there are 3 million users and there are eyeballs on FutureNet, so it makes it very attractive then for external advertisers to want to come into that space and advertise. So as of the event last weekend, 3 million users on FutureAd Pro, and to that date they had 1 billion views. Now I'm not going to do it here, but if you can, go and listen to Hugh Paul's presentation, and he will tell you, and he will break it down into understandable terms, just how long it would take one person to view 1 billion times, and it will blow your mind. It's like hundreds of years to sit and do that. So it just kind of shows you the kind of, the amount of people that actually use this platform, because sometimes I think we do forget this. It's not just the few people around you or the few people in our group or the few, 1,000 that you see in, the international group. There are 3 million users of the platform, and obviously this is why they are going to be upgrading and replacing the platform with the FutureAd Pro 2.0. So it will have a new look. You will see it'll have a new look and feel, and it will have a new logo. So no more repairs, no more fixes, just a brand new super fast highway using what they call microservices. Now, microservices is a technology that companies such as Amazon, Netflix and Uber use. Okay, so state-of-the-art technology is what this platform is, and then going to be running on. Okay, so what they did ask is that while we go through this transition, and obviously there are testings going on, we've had a couple of outages just recently, please support the company through these changes as they build this world-class platform for you. Please be patient. They described us as being a family, and that we need them and they need us. So if we can be supportive and just accept that there are going to be a few challenges as we transfer onto this new platform. And please remember that if you don't get earnings for a couple of hours or a day on the packs, they're not lost earnings, they're just delayed. Okay, so for every $50 ad pack that you get, you will be paid back your $60. It's just going to take a little bit longer. So I think it's a great platform. It's a great way to earn a passive or an active income if you are building a team. So let's be supportive and not be a bunch of whingers, and just kind of get through this transitional period to this really great platform that they've got waiting in the wings for us. So to get down to the nitty-gritty, the changes to FutureAd Pro. Okay, so I'm going to run through those, and I know that there will be questions. I'll do my best to try and kind of describe the changes, and then if we have questions, obviously at the end of the presentation we can go through those specifically and break it down if we need to do that, if I've not kind of put it in terms that you kind of understand. So first of all, it's going to be a more secure and reliable platform using the latest technology with microservices, again, like I said previously, used by Uber, Netflix, Amazon. Okay. Mandatory to advertise. Now what this means is that when you purchase an ad pack, you're purchasing an advert. Okay, you're purchasing the ability to create an ad and direct people to a web page or a link or a landing page, or anywhere you like, anywhere with a URL you can put in. Now, previously they've not made anybody kind of use them, but it is now going to be mandatory that you use your 800 views, that you go in and you create an ad, and you must do that within 7 days of purchasing your ad pack, or ad packs if you purchase more than one. Okay. If you don't have anything to advertise, please do not get in a flap about it, okay? I know some people might have had things and they've fallen by the wayside, or you've got in and you don't have anything. There are some very, very simple things that you can advertise that you really don't have to get into as a business. Affiliate marketing is a great example. CoinDeal, for example, the kind of chosen exchange that FutureNet have very good fees with, has an affiliate program. You can use that URL, sign up with them, you get your link, and you can direct people to that. You've created an ad and potentially you can make some revenue as well. You can also talk to your sponsors into FutureNet. They might have something. If you have no other ideas, then you're free to ask other people, okay? But it is going to be mandatory, so it is something we're going to have to put our heads together and look at. The ads are going to be much more targeted, okay? So what they mean by that is that they're wanting to encourage more and more businesses to advertise. So instead of it just being something that internet marketers are keen to kind of get into, that it's something that you could take to, say, a local gym. So if I was to go down to my local gym and say, hey, look, I've got this really great platform that you can advertise on, they're not going to want to kind of use it unless they can target people who are local. It doesn't make sense for a gym in Queensland, Australia, to advertise and it to be shown to somebody in Frankfurt in Germany. So they're going to be much more targeted in that it's not going to be just age, sex, female, and what country, but much more geographically targeted, and maybe much more kind of targeted from an interest perspective as well. That's maybe something that they're also going to be able to narrow down, which is going to be great because it will encourage more businesses, and it will make sure that the adverts are useful and that they are you know, really going to count, that you're buying advertising that's going to really count, and you're going to get this as big a bang for your buck as you can. Okay. Now the next one is that team commission qualifications are being introduced, which means that to get referral commissions you have to have a certain number of ad packs purchased. So what this means is, okay, is that if you have a team of people and they between them have 10 ad packs, to get the commissions of those ad packs you need to have at least one ad pack. Okay. To get the benefit of having 25 packs within your team, you need to have 5 ad packs. Further down the list, if your team together has 100 ad packs, then you need to have 20 ad packs, and we go forward to 50. You know, you have to have 50 if your team have 250. You have to have 100 if your team has 1,000 or more ad packs. Okay, so what this is doing is that it's just making sure that you've got skin in the game, that you don't kind of get in, don't actually buy any ad packs yourself, but you pay to upgrade to get 5 levels deep of ad packs, grow a team, but you're not actually you know, putting anything in yourself. Okay, so because what that does is it actually takes away any commissions that you might have produced for your sponsor. Okay, so what that means is that it's just encouraging everybody to have a certain level, of kind of engagement in this system, so that if you want to benefit off team commissions, then you have to achieve a certain level, and that's what that breakdown is. If you're just getting started, then just keep going. Don't worry about this. If you can never control kind of who comes into your team and how big they're going to go. So if you've only got 5 or 20 ad packs and a team member comes in and suddenly buys 200 ad packs, I know that it's very kind of tempting to feel kind of disappointed, and yeah, it is disappointing. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have been nice to have that commissions, but you'll have ongoing commissions, okay, as soon as you do going to get to that qualifying point. So you just have to kind of basically accept that this is the change that's come through. It is for the greater good, and if you can get up to this level and everybody does it, everybody will earn more. It will have a very positive impact overall. So whereas initially some people might kind of panic, don't. Just carry on business as usual, compounding, build up your packs, and before you know it, you will be there. You'll be surprised how quickly it starts to get when you get to 20, how quickly it gets when you get to 50, and you start to get those packs coming through. So please don't kind of panic and get all disappointed. It is how it is, but in the end it will be good for everybody. Okay, so you still have the optional status qualification, is as usual to kind of move up. So you have your different status levels that you can move up, and it is optional. But if you want to move up to the 5th level so that you can get commissions through 5 levels deep, you must have at least 5 frontliners with packs. Okay, so that just means that you can't just pay your way up there and get 8% on your first level and get all those 5 levels deep if you've only got kind of 3 frontliners. Okay, so you might have 1 or 2 frontliners who've actually built quite deep, and you're taking advantage of that. Unfortunately, now you're going to have at least 5 frontliners to be able to move up to that 5th level. You can go to level 4, but not to level 5. So now then, what they said here was they have listened to everybody talking about their advertising account, and that obviously the mandatory 5% that goes into the advertising account, and it sits there, and the only things that you can really use it for is either buying extra advertising or upgrading your status level. What they said now that they have listened, and what they're going to do is they're going to waive that mandatory contribution, and they're going to send 10% over to the matrix. So what that's going to do is that it will allow you to move that will go over, and it will help you to move up in the matrix. So it will it's almost like a piggy bank. I've always looked at those fees as kind of administration fees. I think it's an incredibly generous platform. I think it's an incredibly easy way to earn money online, and I see that advertising account as something I can use. After my first payment, I've never had to pay for my status level. I'm paid about 2 years in advance. So that's not something I have to put my hands in my pocket for anymore. But if you have not yet taken positions in the matrix, this is going to help you do that without you having to kind of bring more money in and buy it separately. It can help. The Future Ad Pro system will help you build out the matrix as well. We are going to be returning back to getting paid every 15 minutes, which is great news. So the reason that it had gone to 30 minutes is that the platform got so big, it was so full of users to calculate all the you know, the commissions and the payments every 15 minutes just got too much. There wasn't the processing power there. But now with the new platform, they're going to be able to go back to every 15 minutes, which is great because it means that, you know, the amount in your account will tick over to meaning that you will have or might have enough funds to buy your next ad pack, which is great news. So that's a good one. So what they are saying is, and this is probably going to be the biggest one for everybody, and it ties in with my discussion about Futura, is that there is only going to be withdrawal in Futuro. Okay, so no more withdrawal in Bitcoin and Ethereum, Litecoin, and I do believe kind of into Nutella and other things. So the move they have made is a very strategic one from a business perspective. Okay, and this is the only reason, and it ties back to the usage of the Futuro. The more people that transact in Futuro, and the blockchain is seen as more active, and that Futuro is changing hands through platforms, through users, the value will increase. Okay, so if you were sat in a business meeting and you were a company that had its own cryptocurrency, that had gone through all the cost of having you know, it created, having the the people that technically had to design it and test it and launch it and build the platforms to hold it, to send teams of people around the world, building the brand and speaking to people, and then you weren't utilizing it as much as possible within your own ecosystem, that's just foolish. So I am sure from a strategic perspective, when they've sat down in a business meeting, they've kind of said, we're missing a gig here. We could have our own users transacting much more often with Futuro, and most of us are holders of Futuro, and we can help increase the value. This is what we should be doing. So what it's going to be, and it's not going to be, it'll take a little bit of getting used to, but it's not a whole lot different. But what we basically are going to be doing is that when you want to cash out in FutureAd Pro, you will request a cash out and it will be paid into your Futuro wallet in Futuro coins. You will then kind of go to an exchange and you'll say, okay, I want to buy Bitcoin with Futuro, or if I want to buy Litecoin with Futuro, whatever your currency of choice, you will say, okay, I've got 100 Futuro, I want to exchange that for Bitcoin. And when you exchange that Futuro for Bitcoin, please can you send that Bitcoin to my wallet address? Okay, so all it's going to do is that you're going to go from your wallet, your Futuro wallet, through the exchange. It's almost like going to a bank with your currency from your holiday, and you say, okay, I've come back from Europe, I've got these euros, please can you swap it back into Australian dollars or US dollars? And they say, yeah, and you say, okay, yeah, but can you put it back in my bank account? Yes, we can do that. Okay, that's the kind of transaction we're going to have to go through. So there is no way of getting around it. The reason for it is very strategic. It's a smart move. It's a smart business move. And that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, there has been a mention of a couple of weeks before that kind of goes active. It may be longer, but I really wouldn't wait any longer to kind of get the wheels in motion. If you are cashing out on a regular basis from FutureAd Pro, then get your wallet set up if you haven't already. If you've got some Futuro from mining packages, then maybe send a few test payments through. It's something I've got to do. I've got Futuro, but I've been holding, so it is something that I've got to do to learn that new process as well. Okay, next one. Okay, so they're going to have an internal chat for FutureAd Pro users while watching any ad, and you can also create groups within FutureNet Pro. So that wasn't demonstrated to us, so it's obviously a new functionality. It might be that there is an internal chat attached to the ad, so you can ask questions to the advertiser themselves, which is smart. So that's a new function, obviously yet to be expanded on, so we have a kind of greater understanding, but an additional functionality there. They're also going to have something what they call them fast photo ads, and these specifically for businesses that don't have websites. So more specifically, I guess, small businesses that may not have the need for or the want to have a website. So they're going to have technology there where you can build an ad with a static photo with information there that they can take leads, and that might be tied back to the internal chat and groups where they can capture potential leads and business without the need to build a website. Now, what they have said is that there's going to be a contest coming for beta testers for the new system, and that they basically want you to try and break it. They want us to go in there and watch ads and swipe ads and surf ads like crazy people, and they are basically saying, the top amount of people who watch the most ads, they're going to give a quarter, a half, and one Bitcoin as prize, and then the next 7 people will be rewarded in Futuro. From 5 to 100 Futuros. So that will be, the beta testing will be announced when they're ready, and that's something everybody can kind of get into and have a go at, and you've got as much chance as anybody in winning yourself some Bitcoin or some Futuro. So here they're saying, let's have a look. If you log in daily and watch 10 ads for 30 days a month, you can win prizes for top 20. So here they're saying 1 times 100 Futuro, 3 times 50 Futuro, 5 times 25 Futuro, and 10 prizes of 15 Futuro. Okay, so I'm sure more information will be forthcoming as we get closer to the launch date. So this was one of a 4th income stream. Obviously, I think there is going to be another income stream which will be released in March, but this was the 4th one, and it is the Banners app. Okay, again, another thing that is like watching ads. It has a structure to it, and you can obviously share the app with people. Goes 5 levels deep. And it's more specific to what your interests are. You can do it anytime, and I think, and there's no kind of set amount that you have to kind of look at, so it's a lot more flexible, and I think it's just trying to fit into people's lives a little bit more. So I haven't been able to, unfortunately, the guy who did the presentation, who was really excited about Banners app, was Ukrainian, and he spoke Ukrainian, and I don't speak Ukrainian, and there was no translation. Obviously, if you'd been there, you would have had the little earbuds in and you would have had a translation, but it, in the actual presentation, wasn't actually translated back into English. So that is something that I kind of need to find out more, but it has been shared around a lot. It seems very simple. I did go and kind of download the app onto my phone. It seems pretty simple to actually use, and a nice, easy way to get in there without actually having to buy anything. So it's kind of something that's free, and there's a lot of people out there that do need and want kind of free opportunities. I think it was a maximum, personally, a maximum of $20 per month. Obviously, if you're going 5 levels deep, that can be greater, but from your personal watching of ads, that's how much it was being. Now, that might not seem an awful lot to you and I, but to a lot of people around the world, that is an awful lot of money. We don't all live in the West, so we have to be a little bit, I guess, open-minded about that and kind of think outside the box too. There are a lot of people out there to get an extra $20 a month for simply looking at some ads and not having to put their hands in their pockets would be a real advantage. So moving on to the FutureNet Foundation, and this really was, I think, the kind of real big game changer in the whole presentation. It's really taken a shift, and I think this is really the way forward, that how the company is going to be presented. They've got to a point now as a company where the company earnings are so significant and significant that they're now wanting to give back, but they're not just going to do just the odd donation to charities or have a little charity side thing. What they're actually moving into is making their income streams something that create wealth for the people who are building businesses, but that the the money that they make from it goes to the foundation themselves. So what they said was that all the revenue earned for the FutureNet Foundation will go to the FutureNet Foundation and not to administration fees. So what you do see with a lot of charities is that a lot of the what you give, so maybe every $3 or $4 out of $10 that you might give would go to paying people in offices and administration costs, and you're never really sure how much gets through to the needy people that you think you're giving your money to. And what they have guaranteed is that none of it will go to administration costs. Now, what these income streams that they're going to introduce, they're saying it's money with purpose, that we're building a business, and you would grow a business with not just making money in mind, but also that it has a real worthy purpose behind it. And their purpose is that it's going to be going towards the foundation, so we've helping children in need, world hunger, but also environmental projects. Some of them that they covered in the presentation were transportable water treatment plants. So these are small water plants in kind of in the shipping containers that can literally be really transportable, and they can be placed in areas that are very remote. It might be they're drought stricken, it might be that there's been a natural disaster, whether there's been a flood or there is drought, and these are very transportable. They don't have to be connected to water systems, and that you can put dirty water in and get clean drinkable water out. They're also looking at taking wireless broadband to developing nations, allowing them for better communications and commerce, and to help economic growth. So there's so many countries around the world there just having internet, it just doesn't exist, and it then allows people that they can't get involved in commerce, and there are a lot of people that are desperate to improve their lives and that of their families, and allowing them to have kind of wireless broadband so that they can use their mobile phones to communicate will allow them to do that. So that's something else that they're wanting to help with. The big one that they mentioned was the deforestation in areas such as the Brazilian rainforest, the impact that it's having on the world, and that if we do not act very quickly, then it's going to be our children who potentially will need to walk around with air masks on. So they have, there was 3, and I haven't actually included it in the presentation, and I really kind of should have, but 3 gentlemen, 3 brothers from Germany who have this wonderful idea, this proposition that they had, that they brought it to Stefan. They've known Stefan for I think 10 years. And what we will see is that they are bringing this ecological environmental project, and we're going to monetize it through FutureNet. what they said was that, you know, we'll be an example to other companies, and that they have been planning this for many, many years. So even when it goes to launch, as a company, FutureNet, with this vision, will be years ahead in the planning, and that they'll no longer be just working for money, but they'll be working for good, and they're extremely proud of that. I think it's something that we can be extremely proud of as well. So they're calling themselves, you know, FutureNet, the Planet Guardians. There will be a new FutureNet platform launching in December 2018. So this will see the whole social media platform completely revamped. Again, it's not about fixing it and just bolting on something else. It's going to be a completely new platform. And what you will see, again, this is going to be in March 2019. Well, that there will be 2 new products in the matrix, so 2 new levels in the matrix, which my understanding is where we will see this environmental side of the business injected. Okay, it'll be a new product line that will be aimed at saving the planet. It will be blockchain based products using smart contracts. Now that might be really confusing to people who are maybe not so familiar with blockchain and smart contracts. One of the kind of little giveaways was actually a slide that they had in this presentation. If you go back and watch it, on one of the slides it had images of the Brazilian rainforest, and it had images of people popping up, kind of, it floated in all over the screen, and it was saying Lucy bought, you know, this product owns, you know, 10 acres of Brazilian rainforest. So I think what it's going to be is that it's going to be an extension of the matrix, but when you purchase, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be purchasing these kind of products that are going to be, you know, we're going to be basically stopping the deforestation of the Brazilian rainforest by buying the Brazilian rainforest. You know, the government sells the land for logging. Once it's logged and once those trees are cut down, it's just kind of left as a wasteland. They want the money for the logging. If we can just go in and buy the land instead of the loggers buying the land, then they're going to be just as satisfied. So I may be wrong, but that's kind of what I've heard, and that was what these slides were inferring. So doing good, building the matrix, adding 2 new levels on, and obviously further information will be forthcoming as that gets closer to being launched. Now, what they have said is that obviously to take part in that side of things, you have to kind of push towards at least being in the royal position. So what they've introduced is a royal position incentive. Now, they did this when they launched the Futuro, and they incentivized people to get to the royal position, and they gave them Futuro coin. So they've got an incentive at the moment, which is that when you upgrade to the royal position, you will be gifted 15 Futuro. And that if you have one of your team members who upgrades to the royal position, you yourself will be given 5 Futuro. I would just say that, you know, if you're building a team and there's anybody that is looking like they're interested in really building this out, then just get to royal as soon as you can. Just get up through the ranks. You know, there's nothing like getting that sick feeling in your stomach when one of your team actually moves ahead of you, and it does happen. It happens more often than you think. It's happened to me, okay, and it can have a massive effect on your earning, okay. I mean, it is what it is, and you have to just kind of suck it up and get on with it. You put it to one side. What's done's done, because once it happens, and once one of your team members moves ahead of you in that one position, it doesn't affect the whole matrix, but that one position, it's done. It's fixed. It can't be undone. Okay, and I know that because we actually spoke to Stefan about it. Okay, so I know firsthand it cannot be undone. And that incentive will run to the end of October 2018. Okay. So I'm going to play you a little video here. This is the FutureNet 2-day music festival, which is going to be held in Dubai in March 2019.
FutureNet Foundation presents One Festival, 2 days, up to 70,000 people, 6 major artists. One goal. Together we can change the world. FutureNet Foundation Festival is a charitable event aiming at promoting the life-saving programs of IMSAM and United Nations. In particular, the use of spirulina against the world's #1 killer, acute malnutrition.
Okay, so the official launch, the FutureNet Foundation Eco Income Stream, will be in March in Dubai. They have already lined up 6 world-class artists to perform at a 2-day music festival. So obviously 2K Rhyme, he's going to be involved. Snoop Dogg's already been mentioned. Now, he did say that there are going to be other, and they are, you know, top ranking. We're not talking anything else. They seem to have got people on board that everybody will want to go and see, and that's where they're going to launch that kind of eco side for FutureNet. So that should be interesting, and I am going. I have got my weekend booked in Dubai. As soon as we get the dates, I am booking those flights over to have a party. Oops, it's going again. So we won't do that. Just need to move on to the next one. So that's where I'm going to draw the presentation to close. But I think that the only immediate actions that you need to take, everything else is kind of going to continue as normal. Okay, there will be introductions, there will be more information, and we'll take those. But please don't get overwhelmed by everything that seems to be new coming in. On a day-to-day basis, things are just going to continue as normal. But really the only thing that I would say that you really need to kind of put in place is that if you are actively taking out funds out of FutureAd Pro, then you need to kind of set up your wallet, you know, get an exchange, and then, you know, do some testing. Okay, CoinDeal has some preferential fees with FutureNet, so if your country supports CoinDeal, then great idea to use it. It's very, very cheap. You're going to save some money. If you do have Futuro, then do some test runs transferring a small amount of Futuro into your wallet through the exchanges into your own private wallet, whether you've got you know, a CoinSpot or a CoinJar or a, you know, coin, there's so many around the world. They're different from one country to the other. You might have you know, a hard wallet or a hot wallet, you know, whatever one you use, and then, you know, get it back into your bank account or onto your cash cards, whatever your route or your off ramp is. You just need to kind of test it, and it's something that I have to test as well. Also, if you don't have enough packs to qualify for your team commissions, then just work towards it. There's really nothing else that you can do, and earning will increase due to this new rule being introduced. So what we'll do now is we'll kind of move on and see if we have any questions, which I'm sure we will.